Fresh and
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fresh and Buds. I'm your host, Tommy Fresh. You guys are all my buds. Hope everybody's having a great week. We got a great episode for you this week. I'm pretty excited to talk about it, but we'll get into that in a bit. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about my week in Flesh and Blood. You know what I've been doing. I had a pretty busy weekend. Buddy of mine's surprise 30th, a wedding, all craziness. Now the world is, at least in my area, still opening up. More and more social gatherings are happening, all safely. We're all vaccinated, at least in my circles. But it's been pretty good and a lot of fun. It's good to see some people again and have some fun and participate in some life events. I mean, weddings are exciting. Birthdays, obviously, very exciting. So, that was my weekend. So I didn't get to play any Flesh and Blood in person with anybody. But that's all right. My week in Flesh and Blood has really consisted of basically just getting some reps in on Felt Table. And if you don't know what Felt Table is, it's a nice online client where you can kind of play against AI in Flesh and Blood. You can upload whatever deck you want to use, and I've been getting my reps in with the Chain deck. Now I think Chain is obviously right now one of the best heroes to be playing. He keeps he's at least in the lead in the Living Legend status, which if you don't know what Living Legend is, it basically each hero gets points for each win it has, or I don't know if it's win or end top 8 finishes, but at least they get points for a win. And once they get a certain amount of wins, then that hero is essentially banned, but we call it Living Legend, which I think is a cool way to do it. So I've been getting reps in on him, and I've been ordering more cards for the deck. There are a couple, the more expensive cards that I'm holding off for until after Tales of Aria spoiler season comes out, because it could affect the prices, and hopefully a more positive way for myself. But that's all right. I'm going to commit to the important cards at some point, and we'll get there. And but that's just been it. And I got some of the cards in today in the mail, and sleeving them up. But on Felt Table, I've just been kind of getting the reps in. Just like what I've found with Flesh and Blood is it's really a lot of practice. I mean, it's like anything. Any TCG is a lot of practice, but learning your deck and learning how to sequence it is very important. And obviously I would recommend doing the same thing for any listener that's trying to get better at a certain hero. Right now I'm just focusing on Chain because I like the way Chain plays out. I like the almost the variance of with the Soul Shackle tokens, milling or I guess not milling, but banishing your top cards and hopefully getting the blood deck cards into your banish zone so you can go off, as they say. But so I'm feeling pretty confident with Chain at this point, and honestly, I'm thinking about attending the Calling in Orlando. It's not exactly the closest to me, but it's the weekend that makes the most sense for me. So if you think you're going to be at the Calling Orlando, reach out. My Twitter is Fresh and Buds. I'll get the spelling on that in a sec. But I would like to meet up with some people, talk to people, and even just play. The Twitter's at Fresh Buds Pod, FRESHBUDS Pod POD. So you follow me on there. You can always reach out and shoot me some messages, and And yeah, if you're going to Orlando, definitely let me know. But that's coming up in November. We got some time. It might be a game time decision for me. We will see. But definitely excited for even just the calling season. I would like to, I'll be following, what's performing, who's doing well, or are there any people really emerging as a top pro in the United States, which my home country. And yeah, we'll be talking about it every week, and I'm excited. It seems like people really enjoyed the first episode of Fresh and Buds, which is awesome. I'm excited. Off to a good start, and I can't wait to do some more. As of now, the plan is to get it on all the platforms that you can listen to the podcast. But right now, we are sitting at let's see, distribution status. You still just Google, Spotify, Breaker, and Radio Public, and then you can listen to it on Anchor, which is the hosting site. That I post the shows to, and that URL is anchor.fm/freshandbuds. So you can check us out there too. And yeah, but without further ado, I'd like to get into a Crack-A-Pack before we get to the main topic today. We have a pack of Welcome to Wraith, the first set of Flesh and Blood, and there's a couple things we're hoping to open. Right, there's some legendary equipment, which would be awesome. I think the Tome of Fyendal is another solid cards we want to open, and then I believe there is also a Fabled we might want to open, but I'll be talking about each of the cards in the pack. So let's get that sweet sound of an open pack. Oh yeah, cool. All right, let's see. All right, first out of the pack is Blue Wounded Bull. Cost 3 for 5 attack, 2 defense. And when you play Wounded Bull, if you have less life than an opposing hero, gains +1. So 6 attack's pretty good, but I don't really like the 3 cost. It's not exactly where I'd want to be, but I would probably play this in a limited deck if you're in a more aggressive build, because pitch for 3 is always good. All right, what do we have next? All right, Blue Demolition Crew. Pitches for 3. Cost 2. It's got 4 attack and 2 defense. And it has additional cost to play Demolition Crew. Reveal a card in your hand with cost 2 or greater. It has Dominate. Dominate is defending hero can't defend with more than 1 card from their hand. Which Dominate's an awesome keyword. It's very aggressive. It forces your opponent to really think on their toes. Like, well, do I defend now or do I want to wait until I can use multiple defense cards? But I don't love this card either. I mean, the pitch for 3 is always good. I would play it, but I don't think I'd be jumping at the bit because, especially in Flesh and Blood, I don't like the restriction of having to reveal a card with 2 because you never know if you're going to have that 2. You can build your deck around that, but that's not always 2 costed things aren't always the best. So that's how I feel about it. Next is Wounding Blow. Pitches for 3 is blue. Cost 0. We like 0 costed stuff, but it's got only 2 attack but 3 defense. I think if you're playing a more defensive deck, this is a pretty good option. It's going to defend well, but also, you could just play it out for free if you really need to. I'm not sure how it would play out in limited. I haven't played any limited this game yet. I mean, I'm hoping to soon, but yeah. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty solid card. Next is Regurgitating Slog. What a name. It's a yellow. It pitches for 2. Costs 2. got 5 attack, 2 defense, and as additional cost to play Regurgitating Slog, you may banish a card named Slogism from your graveyard. If you do, Regurgitating Slog gains Dominate, which we had already talked about. So there's a little bit of a combo. Slogism, I don't think we have a Slogism in this pack. Yeah, I guess if you have Slogism, I mean, that's like a pretty good combo in Limited. Now, that's a generic action, and I'm going to jump to the... We're not going to look at the rares yet. We're going to go to the specific hero-based actions. So next is Awakening Bellow. This is a brute action. Costs 1, it's red, and it pitches for 1, and it costs 1. It's just a straight-up brute action. The next brute action card you play this turn gains +3. And it has Intimidate, which means target hero banishes face down a random card from their hand. At the beginning of the end phase, return all cards banished this way from owner's hand. And then this has to go again. Which I think this is... Intimidate is another super aggressive keyword. And this also defends for 3. So I actually like this card quite a bit. So it's super aggressive. Like, this is like you're giving your brute cards +3. You're making them banish a card from their hand, so they have less options to defend with. I really like this. If you're building a brute deck, I can see this even going to a constructed brute deck, but definitely if you're playing like Rhinar, the brute in Limited, I think that card would be awesome. All right, next we got Emerging Power. Pitches for 1, but costs 2. It's an aura. Guardian action. It says go again. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy emerging powers, then the next Guardian attack action card you play this turn gains +3 attack. So this is the kind of card, and I've seen this played in some Bravo decks. And basically what you're trying to do is just set up one big turn, and this is a semi-good card to do that. So you play it out, and then the next turn, it's like, you're already set up to go off, which is pretty cool. The 2 costs is not the best, but in Limited Guardians, I bet this is a real winner. Oh yeah, I love the art on this next one. Smash Instinct. It's a red, so it pitches for 1, costs 3, but it has 7 attack and 3 defense. So those are great stats right off the top there. I mean, at the baseline, I like that. I mean, the 3 is tough, but you're getting your money's worth. And on top of that, it has Intimidate, so you're going to banish the card from your opponent's hand. So I actually think this card's pretty dope. I mean, I'm a little maybe biased because I think the artwork is so cool. Like, you got a top-down view of what it looks like a brute just totally annihilated something. It's pretty wild. And next we have another Guardian action called Debilitate. Costs 4, pitches for 2. It's a yellow. But this is another 7 attack and 3 defense, which is good. And then it has an ability called Crush. If Debilitate deals 4 or more damage to a hero, their first attack during their next turn has -2 attack, which is pretty solid. I mean, like, if it totally ruins their next turn of attacking. So I like this card against a more aggressive deck. So it's like, this is it feels more defensive. It could be defensive either way. However, the 4 cost is a little bit much, honestly. To me, if you can't pay for a card with at least a blue, it's a little tough for me. Next is a card that is a key card in the Ninja deck, the Katsu deck. Leg Tap, blue, pitches for 3, costs 1, 2 attack, 2 defense, go again. Now there's a keyword for the Ninja deck called combo, and a lot of it says, like, if the last attack to hit was this, you get that. So Leg Tap starts a lot of those combos. So this is a pretty integral part of that deck. I mean, it seems like very low powered, but it helps you go off, and Go Again is just, gotta love Go Again. Next, we have a warrior attack reaction. So it costs 0. It pitches for red, or pitches for 1. It has 3 defense, solid. And if the defending, it has reprise. If the defending hero has defended with a card from their hand, this chain link, target weapon gains +3 attack. So if you're focusing on your weapons, and I know Dorinthia does, since she's the warrior, this is a solid card to have. They block, and then you just all right, pump 3. It's great for 0. It's awesome. Pretty good card. It's good to have a couple attack reactions and defense reactions in your deck, depending on how you're playing out your form of attack. But next we have another ninja action, Surging Strike. I do like this card as well. It pitches for 1. It's red. It costs 2. And it has 5 attack and 2 defense, and Go Again. So this is another integral part of the ninja deck. I don't know if it makes it into all the constructed ones, but if you're building Katsu and limited, I mean, this is a no-brainer in my opinion. And then we got a Cracked Bauble, which I don't know if I went over Cracked Baubles before, but if you don't know, it's basically a generic resource. It's yellow, pitches for 2, and there's a token, so you just put it in. If you don't get enough cards for your draft deck, you put it in. Our equipment is Iron Wrought Helm, which is just a generic equipment head. Has 1 defense and Blade Break, and if you defend with it, you gotta destroy it when the combat chain closes. Fine. If it's 1 defense is fine. Just it's nothing flashy, but it'll get the job done. Our first rare is Time Snap Potion. I actually like this card quite a bit. Costs 0. Plays in constructed a little bit. Pitches for 3. It's a blue. It's an item. So hits the arena or the battlefield. It stays there until you do something. And it has an action that says destroy Time Snap Potion, gain 2 action points. So it's a pretty cool way to set up for a pretty big turn. I like this card also. I mean, this would be my pick in limited already. All right, what do we got next? We got another rare. Let me put this over here. We have a warrior attack reaction. Overpower. It's a blue, pitches for 3, and costs 3. Target weapon attack gains +2, and reprise. If the defending hero is defended with a card from their hand, this chain link, the attack gains an additional 2. So you can get up to 4. Also a defense for 3, by the way. Up to 4. If you're focusing on, if you're like Dorinthia deck, you're focusing on attacking with your weapon. Overpower is not bad. The 3 cost is a bit much, but pitching for 3 is, it's something to be said about that. I like that. I don't like it over Time Snap Potion, but it is what it is. And our foil, it's a really cool one. It's not a rare though, unfortunately. Is Crush Confidence. So it pitches for 1. It costs 3. It's a Guardian action attack. 7 attack, 3 defense. Pretty good stats. Has Crush. If it deals 4 or more damage to a hero, they lose all hero card effects and have activated abilities until the end of their next turn. So that's that forces them to want to block with at least 4 of it, which is usually at least 2 cards. So I like this card quite a bit. It's pretty solid in the Bravo deck. So yeah, but I'm gonna put the rare and the foil away over here, and I'll do I'll be doing a giveaway at some point on Twitter. Fresh Buzz Pod, definitely check it out. I'll be giving away all the cards that I open in the crack packs, unless I open something really good that I need, as I said last week. But let me just put this off to the side, and then we will get into our first our main topic for the day. All right. So as you probably saw from the title of the episode, we're going to be discussing Tilt today. So this is something that's not necessarily Flesh and Blood specific, but I would like to apply it to Flesh and Blood. First of all, I mean, the reason I thought about it is like, I was thinking, it was like, oh, like I wish I could do a level up episode on Flesh and Blood, but I'm still relatively new, and you know, I still have quite a bit to learn, which is fine. And I was thinking, well, what am I good at? Now, it's not much, no. But I was thinking, well, I'm a pretty calm guy. A lot of my friends, you know, we play video games, we play TCGs, we do all these kinds of things, and some of them just, you know, get super mad when they lose or something doesn't go their way, and they get pretty tilted. Now, I think we should go over what tilt is first. So what is tilt? So what I would say tilt is a reaction to a negative thing that has happened. It could be in life, it could be in a game, it could be you know, in a relationship, even. Like, you know, I would say you can apply tilt to a lot of different aspects of life, but we're going to be talking mostly about games and, like, you know, and specifically Flesh and Blood. So like it's a totally first of all, it's a totally natural thing to get upset when something doesn't go your way. I don't want anybody to take this as saying, no, you shouldn't get upset. No, it's fine that you get upset. It's natural, you get upset. But what we want to do is or what tilt is when you get upset and you let it affect the rest of your day, the rest of your game, whatever. So we want to figure out a way to mitigate that to a certain extent. And for example, you know, in when I used to play a lot more Magic the Gathering, you know, if a judge ruling went the wrong way for some people, and I'm going to use my best friend Dan as a example. He got a judge ruling against him that was it was a game loss, and it was our second tournament. And like, he, you know, for context, he had his main deck, and if you don't know Magic, you know, you have your main deck and your sideboard. It's not that different from Flesh and Blood in that regard. And he, in the deck box, he had a bunch of cards dividing it. Now, they just happen to be some of the same cards in the same colors of that deck. And he got like a deck check, which is fine. Those happen. And they saw those cards and they, you know, were like, why are these cards in here? Why are they dividing? They weren't sleeved up or anything, but he was on a roll at the time. So he was, I think, like 5-0, 4-0. So they were like, well, we're going to have to give you a game loss here. At least that's how I remember it. They have to give him a game loss. Get those cards out of there, because we don't know if you're switching things in and out and it's not on your deck list or whatever. So he got tilted by that. He was upset because he knew he wasn't cheating, which is fine, but you know, he could see how it would look bad. So he got tilted, and he ended up losing that round because he was so upset. And his mind was obsessing about it, and he ended up not top 8ing that tournament. He won a few more rounds, but in the end, the tilt really just set him up. He was on a roll, you know, before that, and he let it get into his mind. And you know, that's fine. I get it. We was our second tournament ever. I mean, that's tilting, right? Like the judge comes up and like, we think you might be cheating, so we're gonna have to do this, and it sucks. But it's a thing, and I've gotten tilted before, and I would say I get the most tilted on the golf course. I used to play a lot more golf, especially in high school. I'd play golf, and that's a game where you have one bad shot, and you are just set off for the rest of the day because you're like, how am I going to make up for that shot? How am I like, oh my god, I can't believe that I'm going to ruin my round, you know? So it's just it happens to all of us, but I think it's a good topic to talk about, especially now that a lot of competitive flesh and blood is going to be happening. I mean, there's all these road to national events that's just been happening the past couple of weeks, so like it's in full swing now, which is great. So, yeah. So that's what tilt is. So tilt is really the getting upset and then letting the upsetness kind of infect your mind, if you will. So why do we get tilted? Well, because we care about what we're doing. We're competitive, especially in flesh and blood. We're competitive. At the Road to Nationals event I played last week. At the Road to National event I played, I made a mistake and it cost me the game, and I felt myself get really upset. And I'm like, why? Like but that's because I'm competitive, right? I want to win. We aren't playing this just for, I mean, it's all fun. It's like, it's awesome. Like a card game's great, but we want to win. This is why we are competitive. So, and we want things to go our way. It's natural. So that's why we get tilted. But the reason that it becomes an issue is because we let that one thing change the course of how we approach the rest of our day or game or round or whatever. So, like, here's an example of some things that could happen if you get tilted. What can it do to your tournament, your day, your game? Like, it could do absolutely like horrible things, because when you're focusing on one single task, like you're focusing on a game of flesh and blood, you need your real estate in your mind to be completely committed to that task, that game, right? So when you're tilted, that is like, for example, like let's say the real estate of your mind is an apartment, right? And you want to fill it with all your stuff, right? And that's all your stuff is you focusing on the game. When you get tilted, that kind of takes up some real estate in your mind apartment. It sounds like a crazy thing, but if you stick with me, it'll make sense. So when you get tilted, all of a sudden your kitchen has all this stuff that isn't yours and you don't want to use, but you're forced to use it because it's taking up space. So all of a sudden, let's say it takes up 10% of your mental real estate. That 10% can cost you the focus in a game, and you can make a mistake, a misplay based on that 10% of your brain being used, right? You're just like, well, when that happened, instead of focusing and making the right decision, you may have gotten distracted because you're just still a little upset. It takes over your mental state. So that's why it's important to kind of clear that away. And we're going to go over how you're going to do that. And it can happen in life too. And this isn't just flesh and blood. I mean, things happen all the time that you get pulled over. You get a speeding ticket, right? You're going to get tilted. That you're going to let that speeding ticket ruin the rest of your day, because guess what? There's no going back from that speeding ticket. They gave it to you, right? Now the only thing you can do is pay it and move on with your life and just not speed anymore. So when you get home from driving and getting that ticket, are you going to sit there and just let your night be ruined? You could. It happens to all of us. It happens all the time. But I think the best way to approach that is to really clear your mind. It's like, it's happened, And then we're going to go over, I have a little acronym we're going to talk about on how to approach tilt. And hopefully it sticks with people. And if not, let me know. Or actually, don't let me know. Or maybe just let me know. Let me know either way. Why not? But yeah. So, well, let's get right into the this nice little acronym. It's called STACK. STACK. We're going to go over each letter there. What do they mean? So how do you combat tilt in your everyday life and in tournaments and in gaming in general? S, stop and think. Right? When it happens, your emotions are gonna kick in, and you're gonna feel that anger, you're gonna feel that regret, you're gonna feel whatever. You gotta stop right there. Once you feel that, you gotta stop and start thinking. And it's like, all right, why am I feeling this way? Right? You have to understand before you can move on from something. You have to understand why you're feeling this way. So, for example, when I was at the Road to Nationals, I sequenced something, right? And I sequenced something incorrectly, and I was at one life, and I accidentally left a blood debt card in my banish zone because I didn't sequence everything out correctly, and I lost at the end of that turn, where I was about to, win on my following turn as long as I defended the oncoming attack correctly. So I got a little upset, whatever I lost, right? But I stopped and I thought, all right, why am I upset? Well, I'm competitive and I feel stupid. I feel stupid for letting that happen. But in reality is I had to tell myself, all right, I feel stupid, but I can't be too hard on myself because Flesh and Blood is a very complicated game, and I'm relatively new at it. So these mistakes are bound to happen. This isn't a isolated incident, right? This isn't happening never again to anyone, right? The people have probably made the same mistake hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of times before me. Probably not millions, it's a relatively new game, but it's probably the mistake has been made, right? It might not always be the one life, but it could be a life that they lost that mattered down the road. So these things happen. So you got to think, why am I upset? Tell them why. Tell yourself why. It's like, I'm competitive. I don't want to lose. I felt stupid for making that stupid mistake, but here's the reality of it. I am new. Mistakes happen. I'm competitive. Let's continue to be competitive. So that's S. Stop and think. You guys taking notes? But we're gonna brings us to T. It's take a breath. Now this sounds like almost kind of it might sound obvious to you, but once you've stopped and thought about why you are mad, why you're starting to feel that tilt come on, you should take a breath. Right? I like to sit there. So after I lost that game, I sat there. I took a deep breath, let it out, and just tried to clear my mind of any kind of negativity. Now, this sounds like maybe it's a little, meditative, and maybe that is a good way to approach it. That might not work for everybody, but you have to find out what taking a breath means to you. It doesn't have to be actually physically taking a breath. It could be taking a walk outside in between rounds. It could be, just go grabbing a glass of water. It could be, all right, I need to get some food in my stomach. That's what I'm going to focus on right now. So it's very important to focus on one thing that is going to relax yourself and do it. And for me, taking a breath is what I do. I take a breath. I'm like, all right, that happened. Let me just clear my mind for a second, and then we can move on with the rest of this day, the rest of this tournament, the rest of whatever's going on. And that might not always be the easiest thing, right? You could be so upset that that's not going to do it, but it will help. I can almost guarantee it. If you just take the second, take the breath, you will start to feel yourself calm down, which is the most important thing, because what we're trying to prevent here is a ramping up of emotions. Now, I use my best friend Dan again. He ramps his emotions up so high. It's like this fuse that like lights off. It's pretty wild. Like I was driving him back. We had a trip. I was driving back, and he was playing. He was drafting Magic on his phone on Arena, and he made one misplay. He's like, "Are you kidding me? Like, God damn it!" Like, dude, like, relax. First of all, it's whatever. You'll make up for it. No point in ramping up, but we want to prevent that. We don't, because when you get that 10% that I was talking about before becomes like 50%. Your half your brain, maybe even more. Your mental real estate is completely taken over by anger, right? And that's what we're really trying to avoid. So once you've taken your breath, or whatever that means for you, once you've taken your breath, calmed down, cleared your mind a little bit, then you have to analyze the situation. So analyzing the situation, that's A, by the way, if you couldn't tell. Analyze the situation. So, and I'm going to go back to the Road to Nationals thing for me again. So I lost that round. I sat there, took a breath. And then once I cleared the mind, I had to analyze the situation. So in that situation, I was like, okay, I lost. All right, I'm like, it was like round 1 or 2 or whatever. I lost. What do I need to do now to perform at my best? Right. So I looked at my record. I looked at how many rounds there were going to be, and I told myself, okay, situation is things aren't looking great. But if I could just win out, I have a shot at top 8. Now, as you know from last episode, that was not the case. I did not win out, and I did not make top 8. But I did have to tell myself, it's like, all right, here's the situation. I need to, win out to make top 8. But that is not the thing that I had to focus on. I had to say, well, I can't win out. I can't win 4 rounds in a row without winning the next one. So, all right. So what do I have to do to make sure I have to give myself the best shot of winning the next round? Okay. So I calmed down, and, I'm not going to make the same mistakes. I looked at the mistakes I made, and it's so very important. Anytime you make a mistake in anything, but in Flesh and Blood, to make a mental note of it, and then tell yourself, all right, I'm not going to let that happen again. I got to learn from this mistake. And if it happens again, I'm going to really learn it, because, it's not always, realistic that you never make the same mistake again. But that is the situation. It's like, all right, so I sequenced that wrong. I ended up with a card with Blood Debt in my banish zone at the end of my turn, and it cost me the game. I have to account for that math, and I have to make sure that does not happen again. So I sat there, and I was like, okay, my next game, I have to make sure that I am taking my time. I am sequencing everything out in my head before I play it, and I have to make sure that I give myself a chance to win, and I don't want to give up the game based on myself punting. So that was the situation that I had analyzed at the time. So, and it could be different for you. It could be a thing that happens mid game. right? And you're going to have to do this on the fly even faster. So you have to stop and think, all right, I just made a mistake. This is midway through the game. Let's hope that doesn't cost me the whole game. And you take the breath, you clear your mind, then you kind of reapply, all your knowledge and your strategy to the game. And then you analyze the situations like, okay, I made that mistake mid-game. What do I have to do to make sure I don't lose? What do I have to do to make sure, give myself the best chance of not losing this game because of that mistake? You have to look, the past, as I said before, the past is the past. It's like that speeding ticket, You can't look back and analyze that situation. That situation already happened. You have no control over what's been done at this point. You can only control the outcome that is ahead of you. So that is how you have to approach that. So that's A, analyze the situation. That's going to bring us to C. And this one's a little bit similar to A, but I think there are some valuable lessons that we can take from this one as well. It's control what you can. So in a situation where you've made a mistake, you stopped and thought, you cleared your mind, you've analyzed the situation. Next is like controlling what you can, because there's only so much you can control in anything. And it's a because especially in Flesh and Blood, because guess what? There's an opponent sitting right across from you, right? He or she, or they will be doing what they need to do. They're trying to win too. So you can only control what you're doing, right? Control what you can. Don't worry about controlling. You can't look at them and be like, oh, if they just didn't play that. That's a terrible way to view it, right? Because guess what? They were going to play that because that was the best thing for them to play, and that is part of the game, right? It feels good to say that sometimes when you're like, oh man, if they just hadn't played the Command and Conquer against me and blew up my arsenal, I could have just won, right? But guess what? You had no control over that. Control what you can. All right, they played Command and Conquer. They blew up your arsenal. All right, I'm no control over that. But what do I have control of? How I play out my next turn. How I defend that Command and Conquer. Because guess what? That's coming in for 6 damage. So you have to figure out what you're going to do. And that could be applied to a lot of different things. And even... and this kind of goes back, I had kind of touched on it. Like in my situation, I lost. What do I have control over? I have control over myself going into the next round and doing the best I can, right? And playing the best I can. That's what I have control over. Now, this may all sound like there might be like an asterisk behind all this because I didn't do well in that tournament. However, I will say you can't do well in every tournament all the time unless you're, some of the people I see on Twitter that keep winning their road to nationals, which is awesome. Good for them. But I only had control over how I approach the next game. So if you're tilted, you're not going to have control over what you can control because you don't even have control over your emotions at the time. So that's the first thing that you can get control of, right? You have to this whole process is about getting control of your emotions and how you're going to make sure that your emotions don't affect the way your gameplay is. Don't affect the way you feel, like for the rest of the night. Like that speeding ticket, what do you have control over? Oh, not speeding anymore and paying the ticket, right? That's what you can control over. What can you do, right? You already got the speeding ticket, but next time you're not going to speed. And if you could just accept that, you can go home and enjoy the rest of your night. It sucks. It definitely sucks. Maybe they should raise the speed limit in some of these places. Am I right? But no, I'm kidding. But that's what you have control over. Don't speed anymore, and pay the ticket, right? And then you have control over how you're going to let that affect your day. If you let it ruin your day, guess what? We only have a certain amount of days in our life, right? Why waste a day on just feeling bad about something that already happened? there's exceptions to every rule, right? A death in the family is something that you're going to feel bad about, but, that's a little bit different. That's not a mistake you made. That's just part of life. Speeding ticket is just a mistake you made. You drove too fast, and maybe you didn't even realize you were doing it, but it is what it is. But so that's you got to get control over all that, and the sooner you have control, the sooner you're just gonna like be completely invulnerable to tilt. And I like to say that I personally, at this point in my gaming and TCG playing career, am pretty invulnerable to tilt, because it's not, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but like I just accept things for the way they are. Like, I had a really bad judge ruling at a GP, Magic the Gathering GP, before the pandemic, and it cost me the whole tournament, and I was playing really well. I was upset, but I dealt with it. It was a bummer for sure. It didn't go my way, but you know what? The judge ruled. They gave me the opportunity to write down my defense of being against the judge ruling. And I said, all right, this is going to be my way. This is what I have control over. I can sit down and I'm going to write out exactly how I feel and how it went, right? I'm not going to be inflammatory. I'm not going to be nasty. I'm going to be completely mature. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be like, this is how I feel. I do not think that it should have went this way, but it did. And I understand why, but I would like for my voice to be heard. And I put that out, and that was, I never heard back, but, it was cathartic in a way to do it. And that's even something that, if you find yourself getting really upset, you feel yourself has really been cheated, I would even recommend writing down everything you feel about the situation, because there's something about forcing your brain to use a pen and just write out words that it really does kind of ease everything out of you, right? You're allowed to be angry, it's a totally natural reaction, right? But this is something you have control over. You can write how you feel, right? Because a lot of us, we bottle things up, right? And then we just let it stew in there. We don't want to do that. That's a terrible way to do it. And then you start to develop negative feelings for the activity you're doing. And we don't want that in Magic. We don't want it in Flesh and Blood. We don't want it on Apex Legends or something like that, because these are games. They're supposed to be fun, and we can't let negative feelings of being of making a mistake, of getting tilted, change the way we view a game that 90% of over like 99% of the time is bringing us joy. This is why we play these games. If we didn't get enjoyment 99% of the time, we would fall off. Maybe 99 is not the right number, but you know what? For the sake of this argument, I would say 99% of the time, these games are giving us joy, and we have control over how a negative experience in a game that we love and we have experienced joy from, we have control over how we have control over not making us dislike a game because one bad thing happened, right? Obviously, if they keep happening, maybe you do have a reason to hate the game, but a lot of the times these are based on our own mistakes, our own misplays, or even just bad luck in general. Magic's a ton of bad luck. I mean, a lot of people go to Flesh and Blood because there's a lot less variance, but you know what? You have to accept that even Magic, variance is part of the game, and there's going to be a lot of bad luck. There's going to be a lot of good luck too. You don't remember the good luck because you think about all the negative things, right? For every time that your opponent went off on you, you probably went off on your opponent like a million times. But you don't remember that because that's how you want. That's how you expect the game to go. So yeah, but that's C. Control what you can. Um, Speaking of controlling what you can, control um, yourself over to Twitter. Follow it. I don't know. That was a shameless plug, but yeah, that leads us to C. Now this one's or that no, that was C. That leads us to K and stack. Which was this one's like it sounds silly, but I mean this is kind of my motto. This is how I live my life. It's keep on keeping on. I mean, it sounds stupid, but it's really after all that you've stopped and thought, you took your breath, you analyzed the situation, you've decided to control what you can. The only thing you can do from there is to keep on keeping on. Just like go with the flow from there, because guess what? It's a game. It's life. It's not. We only have so much time with even just these games, right? You never know what's going to happen. You never know if you might fall onto financial hardship and you can't afford to play a game anymore. So you just keep on, man. It's like, look at, you're able to play. We're very privileged to be able to play a game like this. We're very lucky. We're very lucky to even have the cognitive ability to play it. Some people just can't get games like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we're very lucky that we can sit down and understand a game at a strategic level that we are. So you just gotta, we made a mistake, something bad happened, but guess what? Life goes on. It's always going to go on. And we have to realize that as people, as human beings, is how it is, and we have to, approach even the games that we love to play the same way, because in the end of the day, it is just a game, and if you lose, you lose, but that doesn't mean you can't put all your energy into making sure the next time you're going to try to win. You're gonna give it your all, and and maybe you lose again, but maybe you win, right? Things go your way. I mean, we have to work on improving all the time, and that's what keeping on is, right? We don't want to never progress, right? There's no such thing as a ceiling, because we can only get better, right? From here, I guess we could get worse, but in reality, we can only get better as we grow in anything, in flesh and blood and magic, and any kind of video game, or just in life, right? There's only we can only progress, right? Even just like working out, right? You can just sit there and let life take over you, like, because you're like, oh man, I don't feel good about myself, but I don't feel good enough to go to the gym or something like that. But guess what? You're not going to improve that way, and it's never going to get better, right? So you got to have to take initiative, right? And that's the same thing in flesh and blood, because guess what? That loss already happened, and it's gonna stay there, and it's always gonna be there in the past. So you got to keep on moving towards the future, so that you can get those wins. You can win a tournament. You can top 8 a tournament. There's no reason you can't. The only thing holding you back is yourself, and that's what tilt is all about, right? Tilting is preventing yourself from performing at your best because you are upset, and that's what it is. So that's why we're trying to totally nip that in the bud. And I hope everybody really enjoy this. And obviously, if you disagree, feel free to reach out. I'm not the end all be all on all this. I'm just voicing my opinions, and I hope that my listeners enjoy it. So that's Stack, and let's go over it one more time. Because if my associate's degree in education has taught me anything, we gotta go over it again, I guess. But and Stack, S for stop and think, T for take a breath, A for analyze the situation, C for control what you can, and K for keep on keeping on. But yeah, that's Stack, and I hope you guys can really apply it to your game. I enjoyed talking about it. I am passionate about, finding like calmness, especially when it comes to a game that we're supposed to be having fun in. It's okay to be competitive, but you know what? It's still a game. We're gonna have fun regardless, right? And we're very lucky to be able to play it. And yeah, but I had a lot of fun talking to you guys this week. I'm really enjoying being in the Flesh and Blood community. I'm enjoying talking to people on Twitter, which again is at FreshBudsPod. And then you can find the podcast. Hopefully, by the time this second episode is, there'll be more platforms. But I will on Twitter post where you can find all of it. But Spotify and Google are the big ones right now, which is very accessible. And and that is that's gonna do it for the show. Oh, excuse me. Again, you can find me at FreshBudsPod at Twitter, and you can check out. There's a lot of great content creators out there that are doing stuff. And there's some good podcasts. The Brew Tap cast is great. I enjoy their content. Then there's Dex and Drafts. I think it's drafts. I don't know, but they're really great too. And there's a lot of great YouTube channels. And it looks like they're all going to be getting. A lot of them are going to be getting spoilers for Tales of Aria, which are going to start this week, and that's what we'll be talking about next week, which I'm very excited about. And but before I go, I want to leave you with a little story of when my first top 8 in the Magic tournament. This is Magic related, but this was when I knew I had a little bit control over my emotions and preventing tilt. I had a winning in for the top 8, and game 1. So in Magic, there's best of 3. Unlike Flesh and Blood, there's best of 1. In game 1, I got housed, right, and it was like, and it wasn't anything I did wrong. It was just my opponent got so lucky, so lucky, and which is fine, and it happened. And I sat there while I was looking at my sideboard. I was like, wow. I thought to my initial thought was, I'm not going to make the top 8 of this tournament after having a great day. And I sat there, and that's literally when I was like, okay, I had to focus on my sideboard. I was like, all right, well, I need to make sure that I bring in the right things for this matchup. And I forget, I was playing Cruel Aggro, which is like a just an aggro deck. And I forget what my opponent was playing at this point. This is years ago. And I sat there and I was like, okay, I'm going to bring these cards in. And I clearly remember taking a deep breath and be like, okay, like I can't think about not making top 8. It's like I got to think about just winning, right? Game 2, I won handedly. Game 3, I was the lucky one that time, which, you know what? He got lucky the first time, and I got lucky another time. So it's just, it's ebbs and flows. It's the pendulum swinging back and forth. And I truly believe if I didn't take the time there to really just calm down, I could have just punted in that second game before I even had I wouldn't even give myself the chance to get that lucky. So, yeah. But that's what I'm leaving you guys with, and hopefully everything is good and dandy in your world. And feel free to ask me any questions on Twitter if you want me to answer them on the podcast, and any kind of anything. You guys can reach about anything, and hopefully this episode really helped. But until next time, I've been Tommy Fresh, and you guys have been my buds. So, catch you later.